What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and the New York Giants unsurprisingly lost again today, or did they? Yes, they lost the game versus the New Orleans Saints. Blocked field goal from Graham Gano at the end there. Saints take the win narrowly. New York Giants lose on the scoreboard, but win in draft positioning, moving up to the number 2 overall pick. If you are on the tank, if you are hoping for Giants losses, well, that was an exhilarating finish to that game for you, as the New York Giants just narrowly escaped from that game with a loss to move up in the draft positioning. Now, if we're actually taking a look at this game and the way that the New York Giants played, well, again, unsurprisingly, they sucked. They were terrible. But I will give credit to the defense. The defense finally ended the interception drought. The Giants going into this game hadn't recorded an interception since week 1. That long. Yes, that long. 11 games played with no interceptions. It was an NFL record-setting drought. They finally ended that streak. Trey Hawkins, backup cornerback. You guys know we really liked him on the channel last year during training camp. He made some noise. Hasn't really played much since then. Didn't look good during last regular season. Well, he got an opportunity today because the Giants, they were dealing with just a ridiculous amount of injuries. Not only was Deonte Banks out, Drew Phillips was out, Okereke, obviously Dexter Lawrence on IR. The Giants were decimated with injuries, but it did give opportunities for some of these young, overlooked players to get on the field and make some plays. And we saw that Trey Hawkins with the interception to end the drought for the Giants. But ultimately, this offense is disgusting. Like, it's terrible watching this offense try and play football. It is so boring. This is one of the most boring Giants games I've ever watched in my life. Drew Lock, listen, credit to you. I respect you. You were under pressure all day. Only sacked twice. That's a testament to Drew Lock getting out of the pocket and not taking too many sacks. But he didn't look very good either. He completed only 43% of his passes, 21 for 49, had a 48.6 rating. Yeah, a few of those were dropped as well, but 227 yards, 0 total touchdowns, 1 interception. It wasn't necessarily a good performance from Drew Lock. In fact, it was pretty bad, but he did turn it on in the fourth quarter. 0 for 8 to start the game is historically bad. That hasn't happened since the 1990s. And Drew Lock through 3 quarters looks like one of the worst quarterbacks on the football field for any of the teams in the NFL this weekend. But in the fourth quarter, he started to put it together. He started to play better. Malik Neighbors finally started to get involved in the fourth, finished the game with 5 receptions for 79 yards. There were some small positives to take away from the performances on the field, but really just overall, this Giants team is a mess. It's an absolute disaster. And I'm really just looking ahead to the draft position. And the New York Giants are moving up the draft order with this loss. Around the league, very important, the Jacksonville Jaguars stole a win today. That is huge for the New York Giants draft positioning, moving up to 3-10, now picking 5th. The Giants and the Raiders are the only 2 teams remaining in the NFL with less than 3 wins. They're both locked in at 2-11 each. Now, keep an eye on this, though. The Raiders have a .535 strength of schedule compared to the Giants' .544, which is why they are picking ahead of the New York Giants currently in the draft order. However, obviously, the strength of schedule can change throughout the next few weeks, as can the records and as will the records. But right now, the Raiders are picking ahead, but they did just lose Aiden O'Connell to a non-contact knee injury. He's probably going to miss the rest of the season. He wasn't a great quarterback anyway, but things are going from bad to worse for Vegas. It's going to be really tough for the Giants to beat them out for that number 1 pick, because the Giants, I think, today demonstrated that they do have the ability to win games. They're really just a play or 2 away from the offense from winning these games, but the offense just can't make those plays. It's an absolute disaster, and that's where I'm going to tie this into a bigger picture conversation here as we talk about, again, more draft order stuff and the future of this New York Giants team, because right now, the way that I'm looking at it, it's really difficult to be confident in the future and direction of this Giants team under current ownership and leadership. Ownership is a mess. We know that. John Mara has made plenty of bad mistakes over the last decade that have set this franchise back. Then he's made new mistakes on top of those that set us back further. It's been awful the past several years watching this team just devolve into a state of rock bottom after rock bottom. Somehow it just keeps on getting worse. But here's the thing. The Giants are on an 8-game losing streak. In October, John Mara said, hey, I don't anticipate any end-of-season firings. I think we need to be patient and trust the process here with Joe Schoen and Brian Dable. Well, that was a while ago, and now the Giants are on an 8-game losing streak. Looks like they could lose out 12 games in a row. They've got a few games on the schedule. I guess maybe that Colts game might be winnable, but I'm not so sure. Looks like the Giants could lose out 12 games in a row. How do you keep Brian Daboll at that point is my question. And this is coming from a guy who likes Brian Daboll. You guys know that I like him. I think he can be a good coach, but recently, no, he has been terrible, as has pretty much everybody else in the New York Giants organization. So how the hell is he supposed to survive this 8-game losing streak and mess that the New York Giants are in the middle of? To make matters worse, guys, I'm not sure if you saw it viral this morning prior to kickoff for the New York Giants. A plane was going around doing circles around MetLife Stadium, had a banner on the back of it saying, "John Mara, please fix this dumpster fire." That's basically what it said. Listen, that is a level of embarrassment for an owner that's rare to reach. First of all, credit to whoever was flying that plane. You are an absolute fucking legend. Shout out to New York Giants fans for being upset. Shout out to you guys for being frustrated enough to get that voice heard by way of a freaking plane flying over the stadium. That's some serious dedication. And it just speaks volumes to how fed up New York Giants fans like myself and like all of you listening to this are. We're all fed up. We're all frustrated, sick and tired of the losing, tired of all of the shit that we're dealing with this New York Giants team. It's terrible. It's embarrassing week after week. Again, maybe you're celebrating the Giants losing this game because it helped them in their draft positioning, but you have to be embarrassed by your team playing the way that it did. The offense was atrocious. They scored 11 points. They lost on a blocked field goal. Like, everything about this team just screams embarrassment. But again, the one positive is the draft positioning and the way that the Giants are moving up the draft order. This game felt a lot like some of those games last year, like the Jets game or the Patriots game that the Giants ended up winning barely. This one they actually lose, which is going to help them in the long run in their draft positioning. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But I'm curious to read through the comments, see your guys' thoughts on the John Mara plane and just in general, this team, the poor direction that it is heading in. I don't know how these guys survive. And again, there's so much to criticize both Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen for. I know that John Mara doesn't want to just blow it up once again. It's only been 3 years. I understand all the overturn is not good for the organization, but there has to be consequences for actions. And those two and everybody working with them on the coaching staff and in the front office have made mistakes. And those actions that are ultimately mistakes, they do deserve consequences. And I think people are going to have to be held accountable. And I just think when you keep watching this team, now you're seeing there's barely any fans in the stadium. Tickets were selling today on StubHub for $2. $1 tickets were listed. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, we've really hit rock bottom for the New York Giants. And because of that, I have to say, I feel like heads are going to roll. I think that Daboll is a dead man walking. And I think that Joe Schoen and company are on their way out of here. Whether you think that's a good idea or not, I just don't see John Mara being able to sit and remain patient like he said he would here. I think he's going to get frustrated enough. I think he's going to get embarrassed enough to make a drastic decision and fire these guys. I think it's inevitable. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they win 1 or 2 games down the stretch, ruin the draft positioning, but instill confidence into Mara and they keep their jobs. It's totally possible. But if you're looking at this team right now, it's just a disaster. The only thing that we've had to really be happy about all season long has been the rookie performances. But Malik Neighbors, he's on the sideline screaming at the coaches, "You guys are calling plays like I'm not even out there," paraphrasing and cutting out the curse word. That's what he said. He was caught on the hot mic. They're barely running their offense through their best playmaker and Neighbors. Tyrone Tracy is struggling to get involved. Drew Phillips is hurt. Tyler Nubin got hurt today. There's really not a whole lot to watch for. John Michael Schmitz got injured today. John Runyon got banged up. There's injuries all over the place. There's a lack of talent almost all across the board. What are we watching? What are we looking at right now with this New York Giants team? It's really, really tough to see the light at the end of the tunnel sometimes. And that's why, again, I think that John Mara is going to see that plain banner. He's going to read all of the reactions to that and to this game and maybe listen to some shows and hear people talk so negatively about this team like I'm doing right now. And I think he might make a very dramatic and drastic decision to make some firings before the season's even over at this point, because I think we're getting to that ugly of a juncture in this season. I mean, an 8-game losing streak. And guys, I think it's important to put into perspective, this is the 100th season of the New York Giants. This is the franchise's 100th year. This was supposed to be history. This was supposed to be a year of celebration and excitement. Giants were supposed to be winning games and finding different ways to celebrate not only the now, but the past and the legacy of the franchise. They can't do any of that right now. They can't celebrate a damn thing because this team is too bad. Even if they want to look back to 2011-12 and celebrate some of the highlights of the past, it's like, who cares? This team is 2-11, has lost 8 games in a row. It's an utter embarrassment. It's the dumpster fire of the NFL right now. Out of all the teams, out of all 32 franchises in the league, none are more embarrassing than the New York Giants year in and year out. Arguably the Jets, I guess, but that doesn't say a whole lot. If that's who you have to compare yourself to, look at the company that you're keeping as New York Giants as an organization. If you have to compare yourself to the shitty Jets, it's embarrassing. It's sad. And I can't believe that we're here at this point. Again, credit to the defense today. Like, they played solid. They held Alvin Kamara at only 44 rushing yards. Marcus Valdes-Scantling was the leading receiver with only 51 yards. Derek Carr only had 219 yards. The defense did a great job. Micah McFadden made a lot of plays. He had 5 tackles for loss. Guy played out of his mind. Kayvon Thibodeau had a few tackles for loss, a couple quarterback hits, and a sack. Brian Burns had a sack, forced fumble, a couple tackle for losses. There's some decent players on the defensive side of the ball. But when you watch this offense operate, they can't move the ball. They're terrible. And you know why that's so damning? Brian Dable was touted as this offensive genius, quarterback guru mastermind. And the offense has been the worst in the NFL ever since he's been here. Even that playoff season, it wasn't all that great. The Giants were overall like decent at everything, which is why they made it to the playoffs. But the last 2 years, they have had the worst offense in the league with an offensive-minded head coach. I just don't see how he could survive this. I'm not sure. And maybe you guys disagree. Maybe you want Dable to stay another year. Maybe you want him to stay another 2 years. Maybe you believe in him. But look at all the penalties that this team commit, the minor mistakes that they make, snap in and snap out, the lack of discipline these players have. I just can't see a way forward with this regime in place. I don't know. Maybe I'm overdramatic. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but I just think this is an embarrassing team. They are 0-7 at home this season, again, in the 100th season of the franchise. And on top of that, they're facing a Baltimore Ravens team next week that's coming out of their bye week, fully energized, healthy, ready to go Ravens at home for the Giants, probably looking at 0-8 at home on the year, meaning they would not win a single game at home. I don't know what to say, guys. I think it's really embarrassing. Just the only thing that I could be excited about and happy is we're holding a top 2 pick in the draft right now. Now, what will the New York Giants do? Will they draft a quarterback? Will they trade down? It's going to be determined by who the new GM is, if there is one, or if Joe Schoen is still here. Who is in charge of this team by the time we get to April? It's a big question mark. And right now, I can't tell you that I know the answer. I don't know if Joe Schoen's going to be here. I don't know if Brian Dable's going to be here. I don't even know if Brandon Brown, fan favorite assistant GM, I don't know if he's going to be here. Giants could end up cleaning house because that's how bad the season has been. They might scorch earth. John Mara might get that upset. And I will say, I think that it's very interesting to note, Dan Duggan of The Athletic, he posted the video of the John Mara banner on that plane that was flying around MetLife. And he said, I don't think that we've seen anything like this since the 1978 season. And that resulted in organizational restructuring. Listen, if it takes a guy flying a plane circles around the stadium, embarrassing the shit out of John Mara to get organizational restructuring, let's keep flying them damn planes around the stadium, because that's exactly what this team needs. Organizational restructuring desperately. Needs to take a look at the entire operation and change the way it's done from top to bottom. That's how I feel about it. Whether that's bringing in new ownership or bringing in a president of football operations and having John Mara step down, whatever, new GM, whatever you got to do, they got to try something. I think that it's been too many half measures over the last 6 years as the Giants have rebuilt a couple of times, but tried to win while rebuilding each time. I think they really, truly need to just blow things up right now. I think that's really my takeaway from another embarrassing game at home, once again, for the Giants against a really bad New Orleans Saints team. 5-8 Saints, horrible. Looked like they wanted to give the Giants the win all day long. Looked like they were tanking. Giants were just so bad that they still somehow found a way to lose. And that's the number one thing. People could say, oh, well, the Giants, they're only a few plays away in a few games. Their record could be better if a quarterback stepped in. Bad teams find ways to lose. That's just the reality of the New York Giants. And this is a bad football team from top to bottom. Inside the building, on the field, offense, defense, all over the place. Special teams, absolute disaster. But I don't know. I can't really waste too much more breath on this, guys. I think all that needs to be said has been said. We're number 2 in the draft now. That's exciting. Maybe we'll move up to number 1. But right now, the Giants have a lot of thinking to do from the top of the organization downward. John Mara has some really, really big decisions to make before the season ends. Will he make any midseason firings? I'm not sure. But will there be firings? I have a feeling at least a few will occur. So we'll see how it goes. And of course, we'll keep you updated right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below. Seriously, comment your thoughts down below. I know you guys want to vent. I know you're angry, frustrated, want to comment down below. Please do. And let me know if you think these guys are surviving this, or if you think a firing is going to happen and when you think it's going to happen. Is it happening tomorrow? Is it happening on Monday morning? Is it happening at the end of the season? Let me know your thoughts on all of that. And I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on the John Mara plain banner, because I think that was the most interesting thing to take away from today's game. The game was boring as shit. Nobody cared to watch that. I mean, seriously, it was a snooze fest. 11-14, 25 total points. I mean, who wanted to watch that? I was more interested in the plane. Seriously. So, yeah, let me hear your thoughts down below, and we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
Perfect.